So in this video, I'm going to finish off what I was saying before. So they lied and said that I'm different around white people than I'm around black people. But I told you in a previous video, I grew up around both. So I wouldn't be able to keep switching my personality for 49 years. So they're concerned that I listen to white music and black music, but I listen to less rap. Everybody knows that about me. I told you in a previous video, I like things that have like a music to it. So I don't tend to listen to things that don't have that sort of kind of music to it, which is why I had to stop listening to music when they did this, because I told you about how it syncs your brainwaves. So I like things that I can kind of dance to. So they said when I worked at a previous location, I won't say what it is because I think they're targeting certain things and they talk about certain topics and write scripts according to what they're about to target. So when I worked at a certain place, I said I like kind of like techno music, dance music. Everyone knows I like that type of music, even in high school, because like when I was in high school, we had like we called it, we didn't call it techno. We called it like, I don't know. I can't think of the way we called it back then. That was like decades ago, but we called it that. So they were surprised that I like that. But I like a lot of different types of music, but I don't tend to like music that I can't sing to, if you guys understand. So I've never been the type of person, and now they'll talk about the elementary school mate, Felicia, and like, oh, she already knows I wasn't somebody who liked rap music like that. I like things I could sing to. So I heard her voice, and that's my whole point. This technology actually uses the person's voice. At one time, they used computer-generated voices, or they put it on the TV, which means that they're cloning someone else's voice, but I think that's illegal. So I don't think they should have done that at all. But I heard her voice, and she said something along the lines that I used to be able to quote certain songs, but the songs I could sing along to were the songs I could sing along to. So I was never into rap, the type that I can't sing. And I can't rap, so it's not like I would have been able to, like the young people now can rap along to things. I was never that way. It had to have like a catchy beat that I could kind of sing along to. Okay, so now we did that. The next part about that is that I talked about punishing me. So they keep saying they're going to do this to punish me, because the goal of this, and I'm going to put this as their goal, and I'm going to start a whole list of every goal they had for me, besides trying to get me to steal, try to get me to apply for a PPP loan, trying to get me confused, try to get me to a point where they thought I would need a custodian or guardianship, try to get me railroaded into mental illness, try to get me to beat people up, try to get me to beat my mom up. I mean, they had so many goals. So one of the things that they said they're going to blackmail me about, is I said, if one of these people come to my door, I'm going to get a hammer and I'm going to deal with it. Well, they came to my door when I was in here in this room, and my door is all the way out there, and I put a video after it happened, and it bang, 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 so hard that the people inside my apartment fell down, and the police had to come because the door wasn't on the hinge properly. I unfortunately wasn't the person I thought I would be, and I didn't get a hammer. I called the police. And that's my point. My point about this is that just because you get angry and you say something in the privacy of your home, that does not mean that's what you're going to do in that moment. And they're upset because I tell people to call the police, and they're like, well, what if the police shoot them? I would hope that if I'm a regular person and I call the police and say this has happened to me, the police won't show up and shoot me. That's my hope. But their goal is to get us into that mindset that we won't call the police, we won't tell people, because I was, when I was on Twitter, I, was tweeting different people, and I wanted to know when this first started and what they did and so forth. A lot of people, either they told people and weren't believed, or they didn't. And I think that that's part of what we do as humans. Sometimes we don't just tell because we're afraid of what will happen. And that's why it took so long to expose this. Because if I'm a victim of a crime and you're a victim of the crime, and nobody, you don't tell anybody, then that crime will keep happening. We got to stop this crime from happening. So they want me to feel something like they have their goal. I'll say their goal. Their goal is to make me feel something that, like, I shouldn't encourage victims or myself to let people know or call the police. That's the goal. The goal is to keep us silent and keep victimizing us. The other thing is about their punishment. So they said, everything I say, they said, if I ever correct them, let me tell you something. I correct them each day, all day, in every way. And I'm going to continue to. So they keep having this fantasy world that I'm going to hang out with them. Like, if you ever correct me, I will not be hanging out with these people ever. So they're like, well, if you stay at my house, I don't even want to stay in my house around them, let alone in their house. They're in a fantasy relationship with me. And that's part of why, as much as this is the electronic harassment and surveillance and torture, it's creating a fantasy relationship with me. So they have a computer generated with me that they say keeps their company. Yeah. That's my point. This is something about these people that they became stalkers. So by putting this out there, they're very jealous of these videos because it exposes my life and who I am to people that they didn't know I could ever have contact with. And that's part of how this bothers them. So I would encourage other victims to tell people, if you feel like you won't be believed and you won't, people won't believe you, I have playlists. Research different news reports, the technology. Tell people you will be believed. The last point, they're going to cut me off in a few moments. The last point I want to make about this whole thing is that they think that I'm going to be fearful or let them blackmail me. I'm not. And I'm not afraid of them.